That's lovely.
Yay. Why is it stuck on me?
We're live on the
It's
radio.
not stuck on you. That's yours and mine's behind you.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good. Whew.
I'm over here.
I'm like, whew.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm glad this is like a pod stream and not a movie because I just straight broke the fourth wall. My camera's right there.
Oh, there it is.
I'm Deadpool.
We're live.
We are live.
Oh yay!
Deadpool, the greatest.
We already
comic
have
book
one
hero
like
ever.
so far. Zeke is on his phone.
Oh.
And
Welcome to the
With my
podcast of
half
what
bottle
life's
of
really
water.
like. Everybody just sit around and surf Facebook for
When
like
you
2
come
hours.
to Gun Culture Radio, Wow.
Culture.
When you come to Gun Culture Radio, you only get half a bottle of water.
But
which is kinda
Yeah.
awesome.
you can you get a full one of these, so that's a bonus.
it's true. Okay, I'm gonna come sit down in my chair now.
You are
Patrick is gonna take over
Brave
this
man,
microphone.
sir.
Welcome to Gun Culture Radio.
Yeah.
Thanks for stopping by, folks.
There you go.
We got Anton LaVey over here in the green shirt.
I was telling somebody that at work today
Zeke
told me I
and
looked like him.
John. And I'm Patrick, and thanks for
Do you have
coming.
Wi-Fi?
Here
It's
we
a little
go.
late to ask that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little late for that.
Yeah.
I could just hand it to you and you put the password in.
So what are you guys thinking about?
And then when I'm sitting outside,
Apparently
your
we're thinking
driveway
about how to
every
get the
day,
Wi-Fi
just
password.
ignore me.
Wi-Fi, what's that about?
All of a sudden, the CIA shows up looking for Russian hackers. I just gave him my Wi-Fi password.
I hope to God that is your. Oh, it went away. Is that one yours?
Let me see.
Because if it's not, I'm about to say what it is.
No.
It's Ram Coconut. That would have been awesome if John's Wi-Fi was Ram Coconut.
No, it's not. Now they're gonna figure out where I live because someone knows.
You
that
drive around. Oh, Ram Coconut. I know right where that one is. Yeah.
They're going to be driving you around Tennessee,
Trying to
the
find-
entire state, looking for Ram Coconut to pop up on their phone.
And then they'll have
And then
like
once they find it, it's probably a 3-block radius.
one of 25 houses that could be.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was a great intro to the show.
It was
Welcome.
Anton LaVey and Ram Coconut. Let's
Yeah.
do this.
Is that my new nickname? Ram Coconut.
I
like
think it
that.
is.
I think I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, Ram Coconut.
Ram Coconut.
It's your next tattoo.
It's going to happen.
Got an image of like a coconut with ram
I'm
horns.
going to get a Coke. No, that almost
No,
went to the
please
pineapple
stop.
pin.
No, do not do that. No.
Sounds like a
No.
Jimmy Buffett
Pineapple.
song.
No. No. The fact that even
Google
became a thing.
Pin pineapple apple pin.
No, stop.
No.
Don't. Whatever you do, don't
Google
Google
it.
that, please.
John, can I Google?
Can you Google?
Can I minimize
Oh,
the screen?
Yeah. Minimize the live screen. The live stream
All right.
thing carefully.
Oh, are you going to
Very gently minimize it.
Yeah. Check and see what are people saying right now. Is the audio coming through good?
I don't have Wi-Fi, so I can't tell you.
Oh, someone's bitter.
You guys, let us know if the
We're getting
sound...
a lot of good feedback on the live chat.
Are we really?
Okay, cool.
We'll take
One
care of
guy
that
said
pretty
light
soon.
up a doobie.
Patrick is gonna ruin it. For sure, though.
I'm not
Is
gonna
he
ruin
your wife
anything.
too? Because on the show last night, which I don't know when you're going to air this, although it's live now.
It's being aired
Yeah,
right now.
this is being aired as you
Recorded.
speak.
Try not
Wow.
to think about it too hard.
Yeah, everybody
Yeah.
kept saying that Josh was asking if it was your wife.
Yeah.
And then it became like a big uprising. We
Yeah.
are all John's wife. Everybody just started saying it.
That's too much.
Started again.
I'm not a Mormon. I mean, I guess my wife could do that sometimes. She could run it back there. She's smart, so.
Yeah,
It could happen.
I'm sure she could figure. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure she could figure it out pretty quickly.
Oh,
My
yeah.
head is huge.
It's.
I don't have Wi-Fi, but I'm starting to get the things.
Oh,
but since I don't have Wi-Fi, I might be a little delayed to their text.
Here. All right. If you guys will talk about something, I will log you in on my Wi-Fi.
You're being blackmailed.
There you go.
But you have to talk about something interesting.
Hey, zoom in on the phone.
I don't know anything interesting. That's the problem. I'm not. I'm a
I love
responder.
the way John's hiding it from the microphone. Like the microphone's
can
going to
see
tell
what. All of a sudden, the microphone's
password
just like, yeah.
Hey,
So-
you haven't had people show up at your house from the internet that want to shoot guns with you.
I have, but
No, I can say I've never had that happen. I've
But
never
I
had
knew
anybody show up at
them.
my house from the internet, so I think that's kind of a bonus.
I did, but it was on Craigslist, and I requested her account.
Too much information,
gun.
She turned
offending
out
the
to be a
listener. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Hey, I brought gifts too, by the way.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Gifts?
gifts.
With a T.
Yeah, you brought a bag full of stuff.
I brought
What's-
a gift.
Oh, I thought
What's
you
in
meant
the
like a
bag?
bunch of short, humorous videos.
Yes,
The
it
animated,
only
yeah.
moved for like 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, I just did the robot. I
You
don't
did.
know.
No, I saw that. That was interesting and disturbing simultaneously.
Yeah.
And it wasn't ram coconut, people.
Yeah. It's not.
Nope, it's not the ram coconut.
Yeah. So we're live. We're here. We got
We are.
Zeke, former creator and guest, not guest, co-host of the Talking Lead podcast.
All of it.
Yeah, all of those things.
You're everything.
Yeah,
Right? Is that right? Did I say that right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Co-creator
Co-creator
of
and
Talking Lead,
co-host.
and Marty's still doing it. He's
Yeah.
still got it going. And then chair of some school somewhere.
With
You talk about him all the time.
SEI. Is that right? SDI.
No, SDI, School of Fire
SDI.
Technology.
Yeah.
And then we also have a show locally in Nashville that we started podcasting too.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Started about a month ago podcasting. We've
it's-
been doing it for about a year and a half. It's called the Outside In Show.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's me, Vanessa Boyer, and Chad Hoover, who is the host of Kayak Bassin TV on NBC
Yeah,
Sports.
I've been on there. It's a fun show.
Yeah.
It is. It's kind of different. I'm not used to like real radio, but it's like, you don't have as much time to get into stuff like you do on a podcast. But when you're talking, it's like much more like intense in a way because you
Yeah.
got that 10 minutes, and that makes it kind of fun. you
Yeah,
know?
it's regimented, and you've got to go and go and go, and then all of a sudden you got to break, and then
Yeah.
you've got to be ready for that break to come back. Have you
Yeah.
done it live yet? You haven't done it live.
No, I haven't done with the live ones.
because you
no.
don't get up at 4:00 in the morning on
No,
Saturdays.
no.
Yeah,
That's when I go to bed.
Yeah.
And then we also have Will, a former. I said that right. Former
Marine. You got
That's
that's the second time in a row you've gotten it right.
Yep.
So we're good. We're good.
Wait, you said former Marine? I thought it was
Yeah.
always a Marine.
No, former not ex.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay,
no
gotcha.
obviously no longer active duty.
Gotcha.
So it's former Marine.
Except
so.
that Will is a Marine, but he's not a jarhead because he's really smart. So
Yeah, still a jarhead.
okay.
Jarhead's from the cover. Their covers
Oh,
look like
okay.
the top of a jar, so that's why they got called jarheads. Had nothing to do with their intellect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, I always thought it was kind of like just a fun way that Marines picked on themselves.
No, it had to do
you
with
know?
their cover. Yeah, it's like the leatherneck thing because in the first Marine uniforms actually had leather necks. That was to
Ah.
protect your neck from swords. So that's where the
Oh,
leatherneck
wow.
came from. So
That's
jarhead,
interesting.
leatherneck are both uniform related. They have nothing to do with intelligence.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Of course, the acronym muscles are required, intelligence not essential. That has to do with intellect.
Okay. Oh man. So how many you did? Was it one tour in Iraq?
Yeah,
or
one
two-
tour in Iraq. I got to go for the initial hostilities. I was there for the first 6 months, put boots on ground in January of 2003, and was feet wet for home July
Okay.
2003. So, yeah, I got to go play over there when they were.
Stop around in the sand.
Yeah, pretty much. That was about it. I mean, we went. I did the whirlwind tour, Kuwait to Baghdad and back. That's what I call it. So.
Yeah.
It was interesting. It was an experience, the one that I would never wish to ever do again. But it was an
Yeah.
experience. Yeah,
Did you get to? Where's that thing with the two crossed swords that I always see the picture of?
I didn't get. I do not know where that is, and I never got to go there.
Okay.
So I'm kind of bitter, to be honest with you, because like right out. So I got there. We hung out in these tents just outside of. I can't remember the name of the base now. It was called the Rock. It was an Air Force base.
Okay.
And we were so the Air Force base was up. It's called the Rock because it was up.
Is it
on,
Balad?
No,
No.
it's not on Nazaria. Is it on Nazaria? No, it's not on Nazaria. Anyway, Ali Salim. Found it. Ali Salim.
That was very Marine-like of you.
Found it. Ali Salim Air Force Base. So we were just outside of that when we first got there, hanging out in tents, which oddly enough were weatherproofed with kerosene. That was. I'm not kidding. Like the tents they were really pretty,
Yeah.
but they reeked of JP8. That's what they used to weatherproof them with. Like if
Wow.
you wanted to smoke, you literally had to go like half a mile from the encampment.
Like, don't have a magnifying glass anyway.
No magnifying glass that lasers right out. Like no heat source whatsoever. You want to make sure you didn't lean up against them too much.
Wow.
But we left there, went up to Jaliba, Al Nazaria, ended up in Al Qut, and I left from Al Qut, which is this.
I just can't help but laugh when he says Al Qut.
It's a funny word.
It
yeah.
is. It's I didn't name the place. So I left from there. Like they were still there when I left. Like right after I left, they get assigned to some detail to go clean up I can't even think. It's not. It's Babylon. Like they went up to the ruins of Babylon.
Yeah.
And were like helping out up there, and I'm like, really? Like I had to trudge around in moon dust for 6 months with you people, and then like literally a month and a half after I leave, I'm getting pictures from my buddies like, dude, look where we are. We're in the ruins of Babylon, and I'm like, yeah, that figures. Thanks.
Jim figured out the secrets of the universe. Can you believe it?
Exactly. That's all Marines do is sit around trying to figure out the secrets of the universe. But
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured.
yeah. Well, have you ever seen the movie Jarhead?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
That is by far the most accurate representation of the Marine Corps I believe I've ever seen set to celluloid.
You know, that was something
Boring?
No, they ask most accurate.
But boring, because that movie was...
Well, yeah, I mean, but it was about deployments are boring. Like that was the vast majority of that movie was about the deployment.
You know, it's funny. When I remember seeing that movie, that was one of the things that I thought. I was like, I bet this is what it's really like.
Yeah, no, it literally is. That is the most accurate depiction I've ever seen of being in the Marine Corps.
It's not like Born Identity.
No, that would be awesome, but no.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that I would hate to be, the guy that plays Matt Damon. Thank you. I couldn't.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. I can't even the guy. I can't even say his name. I can't even remember his name half the time. But yeah, if I had to be Matt Damon, I think I'd pass on.
He loves guns.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
No.
Like I love chicken pox. Yeah, it's a very similar affection.
He's in some pretty good movies, though. I will say that.
Yeah, no, he's in some great movies. Yeah.
He always makes his anti-gun statements like right before the biggest gun movie he's in comes out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, one thing though I will say
Hollywood.
though on that is like people say that actors are being hypocrites because they don't like guns and they're using guns in their movies. I mean, just because like you play a serial killer doesn't mean you're a hypocrite if you say it's wrong to kill people.
Yeah.
So
I
it's not,
Or
it's
if
not
you
like,
shoot heroin as a character in a movie doesn't mean you're
Yeah.
a hypocrite because you don't shoot heroin in real life.
yeah.
I think the concern there is not necessarily. It's that they're making money off of it. Like, okay, so case in point, so serial killer, right? Serial killer is rarely the good guy. Like it can be morally ambiguous, and you're like, well, maybe he wasn't such a bad dude, a la Dexter.
Okay.
Heroin addict, rarely shown as the way to go.
Yeah.
But you have these people in these movies, these action heroes, Schwarzenegger, Matt Damon, Peter Dinklage, I think in a movie he actually used a pistol. But they're shown the pistols, the weapons are shown in a positive light. Schwarzenegger is using it to rescue this person. Rambo's using it to go in and get POWs. Seagal's doing whatever Seagal does, taking back the battleship or whatever. So the guns are put in a positive light in the movies, and people and I think that's what ticks people off so bad is because so you're in the movie and you're the good guy, and in the movie as a good guy you can use the gun, and so the gun's in a positive light there.
Yeah.
But when it comes out here to the real world where it's me and mine, and it's me or the guy trying to break into my house, I'm not allowed to use a gun. Why am I not a good guy?
Yeah.
So
Okay,
how do you have
yeah.
that view here when it makes you money, but want to deny my right to do the same thing you just did in that movie?
Yeah. I can see it from that
I
angle,
think
yeah.
that's the reason it ticks people off so badly.
Yeah, because it's like you're defending yourself
Exactly.
and your family with a gun. But
It'd be like Charles Bronson coming out and saying guns are bad. You know what I mean? Like it's just it would rub people the wrong way.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Like I remember after Sandy Hook, of course, when everything just got blown up in a huge way when it came to like gun rights and stuff. Stallone had just come out with a new movie, and Schwarzenegger had just come out with a new movie.
Wasn't it one of the Expendable movies too, where like the whole thing is about guns?
It was, and
Yeah.
the Schwarzenegger movie was it was like a lesser known. Johnny Knoxville was in it. It was actually not bad.
No, that was
Which
a good
one was
movie.
that one?
I can't remember what
Was
it
that the one with
Wasn't
his
he the
daughter?
old
He's
cop?
like a sheriff of some old
Yeah,
town.
the
Oh
and-
yeah. I know which one you're talking about.
it's not bad. It's not
Yeah.
bad for what it is.
Yeah.
And so because those movies were coming out, they were doing all these interviews, and they were asked, like, how do you feel about gun control? And it was interesting because they both had kind of opposite answers. Stallone took the kind of like, he didn't go hardcore, but he was like, I don't think people need, assault rifles. And then Schwarzenegger, said the other thing is he was like, I think it's important, if people have freedoms, and he tried not to go too deep into it, but he, defended us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were thinking like, all right, if I ever had a hard time deciding which one I like more of a 90s action hero, it's definitely Schwarzenegger
Well,
now.
I mean, Arnie at his heart's a pub. You know what I mean? Like he's a Republican.
Yeah.
I mean he's certainly a centrist Republican.
Yeah.
Closer to the left than the right. But I think Arnie's Arnie may be bordering on libertarian. But I think Arnie's very much a Republican, and so I think he's going to come out and say, people need freedoms, people, and let's not forget where Arnold Schwarzenegger's from.
Well, yeah.
Austria, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
he's kind of an older guy, so I mean, if he doesn't remember it, somebody very near his age told him about it. And so I would assume that Arnie would be more of like no, dude, you need as many guns as possible to fight off tyranny. You know what I mean? Like, my little country will tell you all about what happens when you show up unarmed to a gunfight, you know?
Really.
Some guy with a Charlie Chaplin mustache just takes everything away from you, you know? So I think that might be Arnold's sort of view of why people should have guns.
Yeah, instead of an Italian porn star.
Exactly.
Yes. Was he an Italian porn star?
Yeah.
Yeah, his first one was,
I'll tell a story on my dad. This sounds like it's going down a weird path, by the way.
No,
Whoa!
beautiful path.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
He used to work in sales, and he worked for a company that published, movies and different things. And there's something business reason he was going to a video store. I think it was in California. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Your
it would have to
dad
have been.
used to do this?
Yeah. And so he, Patrick is back there pouring some of my Jameson. Okay.
He's like, we just went into a weird dark place and I need a shot.
It distracted me for a second. So, and he went in there, and the guy in the video store told him, he's like, man, Sylvester Stallone, this was like in the 90s or in the late 80s. He's like, Stallone was just in here, and he just rented like 17 pornos.
I don't need to
That's
know
awesome.
And it was like, I don't know if I guess it was like the ones he was in, or for some reason.
He's probably trying to
I
get
thought
him
he
out
was
of
only
the-
in like the one. Was he in like a bunch?
I don't know.
Well, there may have been 17 copies of that.
That one, he didn't rent them. He rented them, took them home, and burnt them.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's
I'm
what it was.
legit now,
Time to
man.
destroy them all.
I don't have to.
Yeah.
I wrote Rocky.
I don't have to do this anymore. It's like Tom Cruise with Legend.
Oh, wow. That's a good movie.
It was a good movie. I liked it, dude. Come on,
Hey,
Tim Curry as Darkness. Come on, dude. That was
the special
awesome.
effects of his character was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and of course Tim Curry is anything, but seriously,
Yeah.
no, that was. I don't hate it. I like it for what it is, but I'm pretty sure Tom Cruise wishes it would go away.
Yeah. I'll tell you a Tom Cruise movie I really enjoyed though.
Jack
was
Reacher.
No, I don't know. It was okay. The first one.
Risky
What's
Business.
it called? No. on the box it says "Live, Die, Repeat," and it's the one.
God, what the name?
I can't think of what, because on the box it says,
Yeah, everybody thinks it's Live, Die, Repeat.
because that's what they put on
Edge
the,
of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Oblivion wasn't half bad.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was
cool.
actually a pretty good movie.
It took me a while to get into that one.
Did it?
It kind of
I
dragged
can see
a little
that.
slow.
I can. Yeah, it was his attempt at high level sci-fi, and he got close. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody's asking what you're drinking.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
It's,
I can't see the comments.
it's a fat bottom.
You don't want
red
to
ale.
see the comments. To tell you the truth.
Well, it's hard. It's like I thought, I'll interact with people, and I'm trying to like listen to y'all and look, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh crap, this isn't gonna work.
Yeah, that's why I just.
Are they that bad?
Yeah, and they're also 20 seconds late.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because there's a delay, and then there's probably a delay.
I'm
with
just
the
gonna
comment
start
coming in.
randomly calling out some of those comments like 20 seconds after the conversation's over.
Hey, what did you mean by this
Yeah.
2 hours ago?
Oh, speaking of Tom Cruise, like all last week, I tried to run this joke I had about Scientology, which when I thought of it, I thought it was so great, and it just everyone hated it. But it was about. I was like, I think I'm gonna join Scientology. And of course, everyone was like, "Huh?" And then I was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna like get really into it one summer, and then just immediately just get out of it real quick right after that." And everyone was just kind of like, "We don't get it."
That's because everyone's scared of Scientologists.
That's right.
That could work.
And I was
It
like,
just needs a little bit.
People die
No,
mysteriously
it's-
when they leave.
"No, it's done. It's not a good joke." But I was watching something about
I was
it.
trying to help you, John.
I was like,
This is CPR. Clear.
and it was like, that's pretty much what all the documentaries are about, is people trying to get out of Scientology and they can't.
Yeah.
So I was just like, hey, maybe that'll be funny to say. I'm just gonna
Just
join
to do it for a
Scientology.
summer and see how it works out.
Yeah.
No, I don't think you can do that, bro.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It doesn't work.
Tom Cruise will have you killed.
Yeah,
That would work if you explained it after the joke.
yeah.
They
I
don't
did
let you out of some. I don't know.
I did get a laugh on the one line though. The
Got a
billion-year
bunch of
contract.
Scientologists here.
The one about the
All of a
Like
sudden,
they-
we find out how many Scientologists you have in your feed.
yeah. Really, I did get a laugh on the thing about that. They make you sign a $1 billion contract, but you get a better deal if you sign up for $2 billion. People,
Now, see, that one's
That one
good.
works.
No, I like that one. That one works.
have no idea what this means, but Travis M wants me to call him out, bro. Do it.
Call him out.
I just did it.
There you go. You've been called out, Travis.
Yeah.
Sam.
It says, call me out, bro. Do it.
Travis M, that dude, man.
I'm going to pick the most random comments and talk over.
Oh, do you want to? Speaking of calling out, do you want to get into the rated red thing?
Big
The
as a
what?
span.
The rated red thing,
Ooh.
or do you want to not?
Ooh. That could be fun.
Do you want to? Okay,
You kind of already did.
I guess I did.
Yeah. We're bringing it
Or
up.
do you want me to
kinda-
give you your gift first?
My gift. Okay.
There we go. Sorry about that.
Oh, you do want me to give your gift?
Oh,
Okay.
what
I'll
is
give
it?
I'll give it to you. Yeah.
My gift.
Your gift.
A comical.
No, I
Oh,
found
yeah.
this and I thought it's a little dusty, but I thought you would really like this.
Oh, thanks.
I thought it'd be cool
This
for
re-
you and stuff.
This
Yeah.
reminds me of the portable audio mixer that you borrowed from me back when Talking Lead existed
No,
2 years ago.
it's one that's just like it.
Okay.
There's
That
also-
moment when you re-gift something and realize someone gave it to you.
I
Yeah.
have a muscle muffin wrapper too, if you'd like that. If you want more than one gift, or if you
No,
like a
I'm
gift.
good. Thank you. I'm all.
A muscle muffin.
Yeah, I have one of those in my collection already.
I'm gonna hold my blankie now, though.
Oh, okay. Is that your keyboard safe space?
It's like a
Yes.
it's like a QWERTY accordion.
This is
That's
my.
what that looks.
I feel like Weird Al, except a really giant version of Weird Al because it's really little with my hands.
Yeah.
No, this is my keyboard courage for the night.
Okay.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
started talking about the rated red thing, and
Yeah.
you got to have some keyboard courage.
It's all like.
I've never seen anyone actually hide behind their keyboard
Well,
before.
see, I was going to lay on the
Congratulations.
couch, but y'all set up his bike for him, so I didn't want to steal his couch.
Yeah.
And then we would have a long discussion about hatred on the internet.
Yeah. So since he isn't familiar with this, I'll fill him in. So, as I'm sure you've seen on Facebook, there are these different companies now that are basically like content vomiters, basically, where
Yeah.
they just soak up a bunch of content that other people have created on the internet, and then they just put it together and have some, beautiful, interesting people announce that it's going to happen, basically.
Oh, nice.
And so there's this company called Rated Red, and they do like gun stuff. And they're basically one of these. They steal people's content. A lot of I thought it was just us, but I've heard from a lot of people that they've taken the stuff without asking them. They put a lot of money behind it. Like there's a big company that's doing this, Huffington Post, AOL. And they're kind of pretending to be gun friendly, which I guess they sort of are.
The owners are. I
Yeah.
mean, the people who are putting it together are.
But they're
But it's
working.
just the weird part
But they're
that-
working with one of the most anti-gun and like hardcore evil media establishment organizations out there with AOL. And who owns AOL, or is it just AOL?
Time Warner does.
Time Warner.
Time Warner,
Yeah, unless
yeah.
they've sold it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Time Warner, AOL.
Yeah.
You remember Cocktail?
No.
That was a good Tom Cruise movie.
Was it? Okay.
I was just calling out another comment.
Oh, okay.
It's like,
20 seconds late.
what do we?
Yeah.
Huh?
Actually,
What?
that was more like 20 minutes
Oh
late.
yeah, that was a while back. Anyway,
But anyways,
go ahead.
Rated Red.
But
Carry on, please.
yeah. So yeah, they used one of our videos. They just took a clip from it. They gave us credit and everything, and which is always funny when people think that like that's like, you know what, I'm gonna come out with a new album and I'm gonna put some Beatles songs on it
And just give them
and
credit.
I'm
yeah.
just gonna say like, hey, this is a Beatles song, and then, and
well, you
so-
get the exposure.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what they said when I asked him to take it down. He said, well, this only helps you, and it's kind of like, we've been around a lot longer than they have, so
Yeah.
it's kind of a rude thing to say.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was kind of upset with them about that, but I wasn't ever going to go public with it really or anything. But then I found out other people like, John Patton from the Gun Collective posted something, about it, and a lot of people have had issues with this organization stealing content and stuff, and that's one thing. Lots of people steal content, but just in general, I have a problem with these new like social media companies. They're spending all this money, like the fake news thing, just to like generate attention for themselves based
Yeah.
on work that other people have done.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like it's sort of like Walmart coming in and eliminating the small businesses, except that's kind of in a way fair competition, where this is like literally like theft.
No, it would be
know.
like Walmart coming in and and going to the mom and pops, stealing all the stuff off their shelf, and then selling it as Walmart product.
Yeah.
Well, are they doing it in a way like a news channel or an Entertainment Tonight type channel would do, and showing a clip saying it's from you?
Sometimes
or are they just
maybe.
saying, here, this is ours? Or,
Sometimes maybe, but they're like, no, they credit people, but the way they do it is they'll make a video and be like, what's the best, like it was something like that, the one they stole was like, what's the best shotgun or something like that, and then they show like, as they're talking, they show clips from other people's videos
gotcha.
and stuff, you know.
So it's like a secondhand review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
all
didn't
they're
actually
doing
fire
is just
this weapon.
re-answering the question,
Yeah.
or re-asking the question with better production value. Not saying y'all's production values.
Well, I mean, it would be
They're
better.
low.
It would be better production value because you're still using the same.
Yeah,
clips, you know what I
exactly.
mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I'm talking about like the crazy background green screen stuff. And then yeah.
Well, you know, in a nutshell, I don't like Rated Red. I'm not happy, especially the experience I had with them. I exchanged a few emails with them. You know, it'd be one thing if I told them like, hey, you know, I'm always nice, or at least. Okay, there was at least a couple times where I wasn't nice, but most of the
I
time
started out nice.
Yeah, most of the time I'm very nice with people when they steal our content. I was like, hey, can you please take this down? You know, and they were very condescending about it. You know, like I said, the whole thing like, oh, you're gonna get exposure from this and all that kind of stuff. It's like, well, you know, thanks for taking our. You know,
What did Tosh do when they used yours?
Tosh? They didn't do anything.
It was just like, oh my God, we're on Tosh.0.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of the thing though. It's weird because if it's big enough,
Yeah.
then you are kind of like, oh, that's cool that they used it.
Yeah.
Unless it's in a negative light. So it's kind of like egotistical of them to just assume they can take it when they're just like some upstart.
Well,
little company.
there's also a difference too. You know, with Tosh, you know, he takes videos from the internet and shows the funny parts.
Yeah.
Or the different parts or the weird parts
Right.
or whatever. If you have a show that's taking snippets of a bunch of different videos that people have taken the time to produce
Yeah.
and turning that into one separate video.
Also, his market is totally different.
Yeah.
Like Tosh.0 is just finding funny things on the internet and showing them to people. Like otherwise, people would not have maybe seen that clip. But where you're taking something that we already do, like talk about shotguns that we think are good.
Yeah. On the internet.
Right, on the internet.
And then you're putting it on the internet.
Making a video about maybe what shotguns are good. And it's like, you know, you're taking away from our art, I guess if you can call it that. It's not really art, I guess, but whatever.
No,
Our intellectual property.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the whole Leo metal covers. Have you seen that? Did I share that with you?
Oh, the
Norwegian guy.
Yeah.
He covers all these like top #1 hit pop songs, but he turns them into metal songs, and he does every instrument. He sings it himself,
Right.
and it's amazing. Like I've bought every single one of his albums so far because it's all songs that my kids love and I hate, but then I turn them into metal, and then kids are like, "Oh my God, what have you done?" And I love it. But it falls under parody law.
Right.
You know, because he's not doing the pop song like the pop song was intended. He's
Right.
doing it in a different way for
Because you're not getting what
entertainment.
you want out of the pop song when you listen to the metal thing. You're getting
Yeah.
a totally different
Yeah,
product.
yeah.
But it's brilliant what he did because he didn't have to write anything.
Yeah.
He's taking songs that have already made bazillions of dollars and rewriting them in metal, which is awesome. You know, I might just start doing Hickok videos as a parody.
There you go.
I'll find a little hill somewhere that's similar. I'll wear, instead of Carhartt, I'll wear like the Walmart brand, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Or Marmot or North Face.
I was
or
going to say
something.
North Face. Totally
Yeah.
wear North Face.
North Face.
Yeah. Do like a
And-
yuppie version of it.
And I'll do like a northern accent instead of like a deep, and I'll do it with a high pitch instead of a low pitch. But everything will be word for word, Hickok 45.
There you go.
But it's a parody.
That'd be a lot of work, actually.
It really would. That's a lot of freaking videos. As I'm saying it, I'm going, no, I'm not.
Dude, you are committed to your art in a way that I could never understand, let alone duplicate.
What do you think though about that idea of like, you know, like they're a gun media company, right? Like they do gun content. They do some other things, but that's a big part of what they do is gun media, pro gun stuff, and they're owned by something that is incredibly anti-gun. You know, with Time Warner, AOL, Huffington Post. They're like it said they're part of the Huffington Post.
Well, I can't remember if I was talking
mean-
to you about it last night or if I was talking to another buddy of ours that's a YouTuber about it. My question is, what's their end game? Because I've met a HuffPo writer, and when I was running that radio station in Nashville, and they came in to do an article on radio stations as I was talking. We had just started talking lead, and I told her about talking lead. Oh, well, what is it? And I told her it was about guns. She went from the friendliest person in the world to like she was talking to Satan all of a sudden. And so I know their viewpoint towards firearms. So what's their end game with this whole ownership of rated red thing? I don't know. And
the thing is you don't know their viewpoint on firearms.
Yeah.
You know the reporter's viewpoint on firearms, and you know that they would hire someone who would, if that's the image they're trying to put out there, then that's the kind of people they're going to hire.
Yeah.
HuffPo's angle is that they're playing to a demographic, and they'll play to whatever demographic makes them money. And so if the left-wing demographic pays them money, well, then they're going to have Huffington Post, and that's where the left-wing demographic money is going to come from.
Yeah.
And then if they want to play to the right-wing demographic, well, they're going to go over here and buy this rated red thing, and they're going to use that to play to the right-wing demographic, and they're going to make money over there. At the end of the day, Huffington Post, AOL, Time Warner, all of that is in it to make money. And if they can play both ends against the middle to make that money, that's what they're going to do. And all the better if they can just rip content off the internet they don't have to pay for in the first place, because there's no investment in that.
Yeah.
You know, one person, a green screen, and a decent HD camera, and all of a sudden you're a media company.
Yeah. Figured it out in 3 seconds. Or however long it took him to say
about
that.
20.
That's pretty good. That's it, though. That's it right there.
Yeah. It's not a liberal agenda. It's not a conservative agenda. It's a monetary agenda.
A money agenda,
yeah. And then they'll do whatever it takes to make that money.
Speaking of 20 seconds, the kind of chicks with pink Browning logos in their trucks. Just another comment. Random.
Oh, what about them?
I don't know.
You guys are getting a lot of fat jokes on here.
A lot of fat jokes.
I like the groupie jokes on there, but I just can't really go into the detail of what happens after that.
It's inappropriate what they're putting on there.
Oh, okay.
Like that's actually going to stream up on the screen, like, you know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll just ignore those
throat
people.
punch. Whoever asked about my shirt.
Ooh, John,
this
John.
is like one of the first shirts since I've been in the whole gun industry that I actually paid for.
Yeah.
Just because I love it so much.
That's a pretty hairy arm on your shirt.
I think it's cracks in the wall.
Yeah, I think that's what it's supposed to be as well. Yeah.
Really don't.
I was gonna say that's like the hairiest arm
I've ever seen.
It's a Sasquatch up fist. No, but it looks like the old '80s advertisement. How about a nice Hawaiian punch? But it says a nice refreshing throat punch.
It's not refreshing at all.
Share one today.
There's nothing.
It's refreshing if you give one.
I've never. There's nothing refreshing about receiving a throat punch.
I bet it would have been refreshing if you gave one to Rated Red.
No, I don't use violence for that kind of thing.
That's right. Just
and I'm biased. I'm biased on the Rated Red thing because I already am irritated with them because they stole our content. But and I found out about that, so you know.
Well, it's like we don't want to call out one of the main owners.
Yeah,
but we both know him, and he's a good guy. It's just weird. This whole thing is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
yeah, exactly. It is. It's weird.
It's weird.
It's weird.
It's really
There's not even
weird,
an age
man.
in that.
That's what this podcast is reduced to. Man, stuff it's weird, man.
It's just weird. It's just crazy.
You need to have a side podcast just called "It's Weird, Man."
Stuff is weird.
Just randomly bring things up.
It's weird, man.
It's weird, man.
Podcast.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It's just all you did. It's just you, like 5 hours, just going. It's weird, man. It's just weird. It's weird. It's weird, man. It's weird.
Oh, speaking of weird, apparently Charles Manson is about to, go to the other side, from what I've heard.
What?
Oh, I thought he was up for parole again.
I know. I was gonna say he's always up for parole.
I was gonna say that's not weird. Charles Manson's up for parole all the time.
What, is he sick or?
I think he's like in a hospital or something. He might die or something. So.
I'm more scared of that. He might come back in a way.
Yeah, really. Yeah, that dude is an interesting character. You know?
Yeah, he was weird.
He
that's
weird, man.
The only person, I like how he's trying to defend himself in court, and he puts a swastika on his forehead.
Wasn't it originally an X?
It started as an X, yeah.
Because he was Xing himself out of society or something like that.
Yeah, he made all of them carve an X in their forehead.
Yeah.
And then only reason I know that is from a Rob Zombie song.
He had too much punch one night, and he woke up, and someone had carved they finished it and made it into a swastika.
Is that actually what happened?
That's the story. Yeah.
Is it really?
A little too much of the poison punch.
Well, you think you could just like make it into some other design?
All of a sudden, you got the Windows symbol carved into your forehead at an angle.
Like, Phil, come on, man.
What, are you that much into Word? Is he the Excel guru? What's with the Windows symbol sideways on your forehead?
It's weird that the swastika has been around a long time because when I was out west last time, I was out there. We were in a museum that me and Dad would have had a bunch of Western stuff in there, Native American things, and there was a Native American bracelet that had a swastika on it.
Sunwheel.
What?
And it was just a little bit like, whoa. Okay.
What was the Old Norse symbol first?
It's a
Was it?
Norse symbol. It was also an old Vedic symbol. It was Indian, not like
It's-
Indian subcontinent.
I thought it was
Indian.
Yeah,
Japanese too,
Hindu.
or something like
There we
that.
turn.
Buddhist or
Yeah, well, yeah, that Hinduism, Buddhism,
Yeah.
that area.
I feel
yeah.
bad for
I've seen a
symbols
Buddha with a
sometimes.
Nazi,
Mhm,
not
yeah.
Nazi, but the swastika.
Swastika. Yeah.
I feel bad for symbols sometimes because stuff like that. I mean, it gets taken by one person that does something horrible with it,
Yeah,
and forever
it's
it's
done.
Nazi.
The swastika is done.
Well, it's
Yeah.
the same thing. People don't realize that the pentagram was originally a Christian symbol. It was the 5 points of Christ's wounds, and then this guy over here, he writes the Satanic Bible
and all of a sudden
and uses the pentagram in it, and then it's a satanic symbol.
Well, it's also the pinnacle. You know, the interesting thing about that is
Yeah.
it actually comes from the original 5-pointed symbol actually comes from Babylon.
Really?
If you map out the rotation of
And you were at Babylon.
yeah, I know, right? It's all starting to flip
Crazy,
in again.
man.
It has to do with the aligning
weird, man.
of the 5 points at which Venus and the Earth align with each other as they orbit the sun.
Huh.
If you really think about it, symbols are weird.
Stop! We're really trying to keep a conversation
Speaking
going
of
over
weird,
here.
there's a couple I want to call out on here. Daniel says, I think the way Will was moving his head side to side was bothering Zeke like it was me. And I don't know what
I
he was
have
talking
no idea
about.
what he's talking about. I mean, just for you, bro.
It's like a bobblehead
Just for
there.
you.
But that's all. And then this guy, I'm going to pass this around the room because this is going to be an awesome little drinking game, even though I'm not drinking anything but water. The
not
delay
laughing.
is awesome because now all of a sudden the head's bobbing back and forth.
Over here, yeah.
We're supposed to. I bet they can't say my name right. I say it's El Curtano. It's right in the middle. Tell me,
Okay.
right underneath the American flag, guy. You say El Curtano?
Hang on.
And there goes the mic.
All right. Okay.
It's El Kurt Ano.
El Kurt, Ano?
Wait, which guy? I don't see it.
He's like right in the middle.
Right in the middle. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Bet they can't say my name right.
He just wants us to say his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. El Curtano, I guess. I don't know. That's what I'm going with.
Am I
LQ.
gonna play this silly game too? Yeah, let's see
Curtano.
what we got. Oh, we're sideways. We're back.
Oh, we're down to 55 viewers.
Sweet. I just crashed it.
El Curtano.
Thanks, El Curtano.
What was our high?
We were at 67 or something like that.
We'll get
At
some
one
back.
point.
It doesn't
All right.
matter.
Well, let's just ignore.
We're gonna
the
blame it on
comments
El
for a while.
Curtano.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like El Nino.
Because
So now every time your show just starts to bomb, you just blame it on El
El
Curtano.
Curtano.
see, like, we have to remember there's people who are going to listen to this and they have to hear us talk about all the
Oh,
live
that's
stream
right.
stuff that aren't.
But that's gonna make them come back to the live stream.
Maybe.
This thing is. I called him, or I tried to call him, and then he called me back.
Well, because I was doing the show.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because you really can't answer it then, can you?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Excuse me, 1 second.
Yeah.
But
no.
But it's weirdly addictive because I planned on coming on last night and just cracking a couple jokes and then going back and hanging out with family. Next thing I know, the show's over. I would watch the entire thing and I was texting and messaging with people. There's something oddly hooking about these live streams that like suck you
Yeah.
in and then you're just on there.
Well, like, I'm a fan of Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
And, I'm subscribed to his channel, so occasionally I'll see, like, oh, it's live. So I'll make a point to check it out and just at least watch it just for a little bit. Because there's something neat about it. It's like, oh, they're hanging out at
Yeah,
Oh,
his
it's
house.
it's like a community thing. Like you're there with the community. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They're hanging out at his house right now, and it's like
Yeah.
they're talking, and
Yeah. No,
there's something-
it's a way of being connected without actually being there. I think and
Right.
people want.
Speaking of connected, will you hand me a gun so I can hold it? Because somebody just said there needs to be more gun porn in this video.
Okay.
So
Tom Green had a podcast,
thank you.
and that was pretty neat. He had
There we go.
a lot of people calling in and had Skypers on it.
If I want to check it, make sure it's unloaded, or otherwise the internet will never forgive you.
even checking.
But I think there's going to be more of a move back. There's going to be more of a move to like live stuff on the internet. I think because the internet has always been about connecting with people on a more like grassroots kind of level.
Mhm.
You know, I feel like because it's internet's kind of like by the people for the people in a way. You know,
Well,
and I think there'll be more of that kind of thing.
I agree, and with the ability to stream everything now,
Right.
it's cool and highly disturbing at the same time.
Well, yeah.
To be absolutely honest with you, I mean, like, look what happened. What was it, 2 or 3 days ago?
And those
4 kids
tortured
like, grabbed that
guy.
dude and tortured him and live streamed it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like that's
You're talking about the one that was mentally handicapped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
and they
bad.
turned it into like this big race thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, they're prosecuting it as a hate crime.
Yeah,
I mean,
you know, this is something I was talking to someone about the other day. What's weird about, so like when you go back, you know, to like the 50s and the 60s, I think like in general, people were more racist. They were more unaccepting of people who were different from them, whether it's race or whatever. And now that's a lot better in general, day to day being around, you know, black people, white people, Asian, whatever. Like you just always kind of get along and don't really think about it. But it seems like recently there's been, it's almost like we're going back to the old days with this like with the like the extremists wanting to, I don't know, it's really strange.
I don't know that we're going. I don't know. A lot of people are saying we're not going backwards. We're just seeing more of it. Like it was there,
Yeah, I
but we
guess that
weren't
could be-
able to
yeah.
Well,
to view it before, and now it's like in our face 24/7. And I think some of it is people looking for it. In this day and age, for some reason, being offended is like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
And so I think in a lot of cases, no matter what your melanin count is or what, you know, what culture you come from, if you're American, you take some sort of special pride in either being offended for yourself or the big one is to be personally offended for another demographic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the good one, is when you can find yourself offended for someone you have almost nothing in common with. You know, and sort of that altruistic offended.
Shows how incredibly enlightened you are.
Yes,
you know?
exactly. And so I think a lot of it is some people looking for it, and then I think some of it is out there, and we've just never been exposed to it because we're not around that kind of thing a lot, and so seeing it, we're just seeing more of it, and sometimes it's live streamed, and sometimes it's not, and sometimes it's
Right.
you know on Live Leak, and sometimes it's you know on Facebook.
Yeah, and it's tough because, like, you know, as a white person, I don't see racism around. You know, I don't see it happening. I'm around black people pretty often. I don't witness it. But because I'm not technically a minority in the United States, I can't really, you know, have an opinion because I'm not a race of people who has traditionally been I don't know, scrutinized, you know, so it's kind of tough. I don't know. Yeah, you kind of take their word for it sometimes, you know.
You almost have to be around it to notice it. You know, I've been around it. I've seen it. I've actually experienced it in a reverse way when I dated a black girl in college. And, oh, my God, it was just like, holy crap, where did this come out of the woods? You know,
Like just being around with her in public, you know.
yeah, being around with her in public, you know, from every race. You know, I got it from black people. I got it from white people. I got it from, it's just like, holy cow.
Like
wow,
kind of like casual stuff or more like hateful stuff?
hateful stuff. Yeah. And it kind of opened my eyes a little bit. Well, then some of my roommates in college, you know, I was around with them. We'd go out and do stuff together, you know, and all of a sudden I started seeing the way they were treated in certain situations. And I was like, wow, this is real. This really happens. But I never experienced it before that. So
Right.
it's kind of like, oh, it's no big deal. It doesn't ever happen. But then when you see it firsthand, it's kind of like, oh, you know,
Yeah.
perfect example. My college roommate and I both, you know, he was a year older, so he was 21. No, he was 20. I was 19. And we both applied for a job, same job. He was actually more qualified than I was. They offered me the job. Just blatant, like, oh my God. I applied for it just because I needed a job too. They were hiring. He actually had experience in that field. I had zero experience. They offered me the job. And I'm not saying it was a racist thing, but it was about as close as you could get. It was just really weird that, you know, my resume was horrible. I was doing it more. I hope I get another job. And he didn't get offered the job with experience and everything like that. So that was an odd moment for me.
Yeah.
It's just like it's hard to know someone else's experience. You
No.
know, that's what makes, I think, this whole issue tough is like everybody, you know, is arguing about it, and it's like we don't know. Like we're not black, we're not Asian, we don't know what they have to go through. You know,
it's
like you said,
interesting because I ended up in a situation where I ended up very close to someone who has anxiety issues, like social anxiety and things like that. And I don't have those. Like, I mean, Oddly enough, imagine that I do well in public. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
But and so I've always been one of those, like, just pull yourself together and get out of the freaking bed and go to work. Or pull yourself together, get out of the freaking bed, go to the pub, go to do this, go to this. You're just being a big baby about this, But after being around someone who deals with that, it's actually really changed my views even on that, and realizing, no, this is actually a thing. Like, this is something they deal with. This is something they deal with sometimes on a daily basis. This is something that they have to go through. Right? It's difficult for them sometimes to get out of that bed as it would be for me to climb straight up a brick wall first thing in the morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like kind of what you were saying. It's being around someone else who has that experience and caring about that person enough to see what they're going through. Like with your girlfriend in that situation or your roommate. And I think until you can get to around that sort of thing, you don't understand it. And it's weird. It kind of again goes back to something we were discussing, and not the one we did this afternoon, but the podcast we did last month. Yeah, you're talking about people that stay in their bubbles.
Right.
And I think that's another thing is people stay in their bubbles. White folk hang out with white folk, black folk hang out with black folk, and we don't ever really get outside our bubble. And so we sit over here, oh, that's not a problem. I mean, that's ridiculous. They're just looking for things. And if you get outside your bubble and actually interact with folks and maybe even hang out with them from time to time, you can see things that you never thought you'd see before and understand things in a way that you never thought possible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's easy to get, because people tend to hang out with people who are
culturally. I can't add anything to that because that was awesome.
But people tend to hang out with each other that you have cultural similarities.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know what other people's experience is.
Yeah, and then because you don't see it, you become you run the risk of not just not understanding it, but becoming dismissive of it. Because it's not part of your reality.
And that's
it's
why
not part of what you see.
Yeah, and that's why. And I haven't necessarily had those experience. I've hung out with black people plenty, but I've never experienced actual racism. But they all talk about having experienced it themselves. So I have to take their word on it. You know? Like I was saying, I know that I'm not. I'm a white person, so I wouldn't necessarily know.
You're probably even hanging out with you're probably not as keyed in on it as they are.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Because when you care about someone, when you're that close to someone who experiences things like that, you actually become keyed in on it for them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You're like, did they just say, what?
Yeah.
Come here,
Yeah.
They're not going to hurt you, but I'm about to do bad things.
Yeah.
But you become very sensitive for them, and so I think after a while you start to. So maybe it's more than just hanging out. Maybe it's almost like an emotional thing. You have to be there so that you're in a position where you feel like it's almost like you're part of it at that point.
Yeah. One thing I will say, it's different because it's not necessarily a negative thing, but just being like a tall person.
Yeah.
Out in public, I know how idiotic people can be about pointing out something that's different about you.
Hey man, did you play basketball?
Yeah. And it's funny because my wife, every now and then she'll comment. She's like, "Wow, I just never would have guessed it was like that."
Yeah, you're really tall. Really? Thank you, concerned
That's
citizen.
the one that drives me nuts. I can handle the did you play basketball? I can handle. Usually I say I was the world's tallest jockey, but it's the one that gets me is the. Man, you're tall. What do we say to that?
Yeah, there's nothing.
Yes.
And it's not occasionally. It's literally every day.
Every person you see.
Yeah, dude. If I would be like, oh my god, I've never noticed. Are you kidding me? I thought I was just like an average height guy. I've got to go home and rethink my entire life.
Yeah. I told you the story of being one of my college teammates walking through the hall at MTSU, didn't I?
Maybe. Tell it again though.
Okay. So we're walking through the hall, and I'm 6'7". He's John's height. He's probably you're what 6'10".
6'8".
You're taller than 6'8".
No, I'm 6'8".
You're way taller than 6'8".
No, 6'8".
You might be shorter.
He's one of those tall guys that tries to be shorter.
No.
One of them self-loathing tall folk.
Yeah, this guy's 6'10", and he's built like a linebacker, just a massive, massive man. And we walked through the hall, and there was this short guy that would always come out and make these tall jokes. And one day we had gotten chewed out that morning, and just a shoot around. It wasn't even practice. And I was just a walk-on. I was a nobody. So nobody go look up my stats because they don't exist. But he came out, and my buddy was just furious from that morning. And he said, "How's the weather up there?" And he spit in his face and said it was raining.
Oh, my God.
I freeze. I'm like, okay, it's about to go down. He can handle himself. what's about to happen? And the guy looked at him and he looked at me, and I was like a pencil back then. I was skinny as a rail. And he just kind of wipes it off his face. He goes, that was a good one, man. And he just walked off. I just was like, oh my God, that just happened.
Wow.
I've never been brave enough or been in a situation mad enough where I would have done that. But
Yeah, I mean,
one day I want to. Everybody's asking what model Enfield.
It's a Mark IV. It's made in 1917.
Wow.
Gotcha.
I think it's a Mark IV. I forget. I get the marks confused sometimes. I'm not.
There's lots of marks on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's that one goes back to World War One though.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, I just being tall, you see how idiotic people can be about that, you know. And one thing I sort of did it by accident, but I realized it was kind of like a passive aggressive way of like making people realize that it's kind of dumb to be like this. Is people will ask, they'll say like I forgot what it is now. They'll say like oh, you probably get that all the time. And then I'll like tell a story about like an unfun experience of someone doing that, and you can just see the lights kind of turn on, like, oh yeah, I'm kind of being that person.
I'm
right
being
now.
that guy right now, aren't I?
Yeah.
I do get it all the time, and congratulations, you're now part of that group.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a situation where like you run into another tall person who's really tall, and you, like it's happened a few times. You sort of like make eye contact, and you realize like, oh, you're tall, I'm tall. And then you're like, but we're not going to be that guy.
Yeah,
So,
we're not.
like,
It's not like the tall
You
brother.
give them that
Yeah.
I understand nod.
right, like,
Yep.
we
Yeah.
get it. Because if you're tall, you've also had those people that come up to you and they're like, and they think they're tall, and they're like, oh man, wow, you're tall, man. I'm used to being I'm not used to having to look up to somebody. Like I've heard that a bajillion times. So you don't. So like I've seen people taller than me before, and I'm like, I will never ever be that guy.
Yeah,
Ever.
yeah.
So I just like, what's up?
What's up? What's up, tall person?
Yeah.
Move on about our
There's
lives.
this unwritten rule with tall people. You know, we kind of got to take care of each other.
Yeah. Exactly.
Especially on Southwest airline flights, if you get that window seat with no seat in front of it.
Oh yeah.
Like I usually try to get that one. It always ticks me off if there's like a little 5'5" guy sitting in that seat and he looks right at me like squatting down in the airplane. But there's been one time where I've actually given it up to a guy. He was probably 7'2", and he walked on the plane, and I'm like, I can't sit in the seat. I was just like, crap. So I was like, dude, here, have the seat.
Yeah.
And he was grateful.
That's a good story.
Thanks, El Cortano. You made it crash again. Jeez. Hang on. Idiots. Come on, guys, grow up. I don't know if that's directed at us. It might be directed at some of the other comments.
Yeah, probably.
Because we were being very serious. John's triggered. You're triggered?
I'm triggered.
Says you're triggered.
Because I'm tall.
Oh, that's right.
People are. Yeah, I can't handle it.
Yeah, I can tell you're totally triggered. This is
yeah.
you triggered?
Yeah.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah, I'm triggered.
Yeah.
I was hoping for things to fly around the room and possibly some bloodshed. I figured you triggered was going to be a much more like fantastic thing to behold. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Triggered is a great word. I love it.
The tall thing, though, the funniest moment of tallness, as far as like the gun industry goes, was the day I met you at that Second Amendment rally, because it was you, me, your dad, 22 Plinkster, who's also 6'6",
Yeah.
and Marty. And everybody's taking pictures of us, and there's these giant guys, and Marty's what, 5'6", 5'7",
Yeah.
maybe. Oh, that was some awesome stuff that was floating around the internet on that one. This is
Marty
very much an
used to
inside
be
joke.
or he still is.
Yeah, he still does Talking Lead. Yep.
Talking Lead. Yeah.
Uh,
We were talking about on the last show. Now that Zeke is here, I want to get his input on this too. We were talking about the possibility that we are all in a video game right now.
dude,
And I think
like being played by some giant
No,
celestial beast.
No, being played by yourself. That's
Yeah.
that it's all a giant consciousness simulation.
I like that. Let's go down that road.
what's interesting. Something that I like. You can't help but notice, like in life, when certain things just seem to work out almost like too perfectly sometimes, which easily could be a random assortment of events but you pick up on those things, But sometimes you do feel like, is there some sort of like self-actuated like momentum,
I think there is to an extent, and I'm about to trigger some people. They want trigger warnings now.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's people thinking it's God or whatever their deity is, or the universe, like the secret type stuff, or energy, or what have you. It's one of those things where you walk into a room, somebody's been fighting. You didn't hear the fight, you didn't see the fight, but you know it happened. You're like, whoa, you feel that vibe. I think there's something to that. And I think when you have that positive thoughts and those, and I'm not talking about the book, The Secret, or any of that crap, but you have that positive feeling that, and things start going your way, you start seeing that kind of track record happening. I mean, I've had it myself where I get in a bummed out mood, and then for like 3 days, it's just like crap being piled on top of me until finally I'm like, whoa, stop. And then, you know, I kind of change it. So
I've had this theory too. Like
here, I keep having to hold this. Right, I'm scared it's going to knock over your monitor.
Like if you get into the parallel universe theory, where like every decision that you make splits off or whatever. So if you think of, if you were like looking at all of them, it'd be like a kind of like a stack of them in a way, where they'd all split off on all these different angles. So you imagine like a stack of parallel alternate realities, and you're kind of like weaving your way through them depending on your actions. That like positive thought and energy could literally cause you to kind of weave your way in a more upward pattern towards more positive, you know, outcomes and things that you want to happen, you know.
No, I had a theory that actually came from a dream. There was 2 incidents in my high school life. One, I got hit by a car out in front of the school, should have died. And then 2 weeks later, me and my buddy are going down the road, and he flips his truck down a hill, and we slam into this gravel rock wall. Both survived. We had to crawl out of windows that big because the whole hood had been crushed down. And then I had a dream not long after that there was these, and this is high school. I hadn't taken physics. I hadn't taken any of these alternate, and I had this dream where when you die, there's no heaven, there's no hell. You just jump into a different reality.
Quantum immortality.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what it's called.
And so there was this, and I kind of thought of it from those perspective, those 2, you know, near death things that happened to me. And I've always thought, man, you know, I almost had a wreck back there. What if I actually did, and I just jumped into a different reality? It's kind of crazy.
There's a lot of, what's interesting to talking about that, there's actually, I was talking about on the podcast that you're referring to, there's actually a subreddit called Glitch in the Matrix.
Really?
Subreddit. And there's a lot of interesting stuff on there, like a guy, he was down in his father's basement, and his grandfather's basement. His grandfather was a bow enthusiast. And he thought, and so he had all these different recurves and compounds and all this other stuff, and like bear tips and field tips and all these different types of arrows. And so he grabs this broadhead, and he says he's going to pop this basketball with it. And so he draws back on this recurve with this broadhead, hits the basketball. The basketball doesn't pop. The arrow bounces right back at him, and like he everything goes black. He sees himself fall. Like, he sees the blood on the ground underneath him, the whole 9 yards, and then he's right back in his body, but he's holding the arrow in the bow, knocked into the string. And he said the only difference was that the basketball was now on the other side of the room, and he just kind of let that down and put it back where it was. And so it's a similar thing to what you were talking about. Like, you know, you should have, in his world, he did die. Yeah. And then he came back and was standing right where he was, and got to double think that horrible decision. Yeah. But it's actually called quantum immortality, and it's the belief that it's not a heaven or hell situation. You literally skip between realities as you die, and in some cases it can help explain deja vu and past life and all that good stuff.
A quick GCR disclaimer: please do not test this theory and shoot yourself tonight.
Yeah,
let's not see if that goes down, because we won't know if you went to another reality. We'll just be like, you died. You know, you could be in another reality going, no, dude, it totally worked, and we were like, oh, okay, whatever. We won't know.
So it could be like, it could almost be like if you died to me, in my reality, like, you would be dead, but to you, we might still all be here. And
it's just like I could leave here tonight, or I could have died in another reality. I had a horrible car accident on the way here.
Yeah,
you know. What if you die of old age?
Yeah, because you would.
Then you're old in another universe. reality.
Or you could
die
reset.
again.
You could reset.
Then that's when reincarnation happens.
Yeah, you would reset and come in again.
Whoa.
Yeah. The thing is this stuff's always so fun to talk about is because nobody does know, and there's so many different weird things that could actually be happening. You know, at the end of the day, you could reset and come back into another. You could reset and come back into this universe. You could, the way time works, and if you subscribe to the spiritual side of things being outside of our timeline anyway. Oddly enough, you and I could be the same soul. You know what I mean? Like you could be me reincarnated, and we could be sitting here talking to each other right now as the same soul. And then we talked about that on that podcast where there's the belief that we're all the same soul, moving backwards and forwards through time, trying to experience as much as possible.
Well, and that's
Patrick
kind of
could be my dead grandfather.
What's that?
Patrick could be my dead grandfather that fought in World War II.
That's cool.
You could be.
I'm very proud of you.
Yeah, and that's kind of
way.
where my philosophy on spirituality came from. And, we were talking about before, theoretical physics.
Mm-hmm.
You took the real one. I took what'd you call it? The taste one?
Yeah, the debate.
Debate
course.
class. I took the one where I didn't have to do any math.
Yeah.
I just learned laws and
the other side of the
theories.
equation, the other theoretical physics class is all math.
Yes.
That's all
Yeah.
it is.
No, I would not have taken that one.
Yeah, it's,
2 + 2 is 8 to me.
Yeah.
But growing up in a very strict religious environment, and then going to MTSU and meeting a lot of different people and thinking different ways, and getting a science degree in biology, and seeing different things in different ways, it's all like if you really study a lot of different religions, and wow, I'm about to trigger some people too. This is gonna be fun. If you study a lot of different religions, they all kind of start the same way with a similar experience.
Mm-hmm.
The different ones have. And back to the energy thing, in science, every molecule has energy. Everything, air, water. In between us, there are molecules.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of those has energy. And that's where the negative connotation thing is. So then you got heaven and hell. When I'm negative, I feel like I'm in hell. When I'm positive, I feel like, man, this is the greatest day ever. And then I'm really jumping all over the place. But from the energy perspective of things, you hear people talk about ghosts. Mm-hmm. And I've met people who I know are not liars, and they're telling me this story, and they're like, dude, I swear I saw this being, this ghost. Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of people don't understand the way the eyes and the ocular nerve works. You only take optic nerve. I said ocular nerve. Good job, Zeke. That's why I'm now running a gun school instead of a biology school. Yeah. Anyways, you only take in like 2,000 bits of information per second. Or you only process 2,000 bits of information per second. You take in 2 billion bits of information per second.
I've heard that before.
So your brain can only process so much of what we're actually seeing. Mm-hmm. So what about these people that see angels, see demons, see ghosts of their grandfathers and all this stuff? What if for a split second their brain processes everything? So when we die, our energy, positive or negative, goes into a certain situation, and we're just there. If you're a negative person, you die. I would say that would be described as hell. If you're a positive person, you die. Probably a heaven type thing. I probably need to write it out to where it makes more sense, and y'all aren't looking at me like
no. I totally understand what you're coming. It's very much sort of like the Jacob's Ladder kind of thing, and by Jacob's Ladder, the movie, not the biblical thing.
The Tim Robinson.
The Tim Robinson movie. Yeah. I have a slightly different view on ghosts. It's kind of, you were talking about the Norse thing earlier. It's kind of seated somewhat in the Norse belief. The Norse had a belief that you're not one particular entity, like you're made up of several different entities, and it's kind of interesting to think about because so if you subscribe to the I have a body, I am a spirit, I have a soul, I live in a body concept, then the fear of death is wholly and completely unnatural. You know what I mean? Like, there's just no reason for it. Like, if you believe that you are a pure spiritual entity, you just happen to inhabit a meat suit, and then there's this thing between your ears that functions as a soul, it literally makes no sense whatsoever. But if you come to understand that there's a physical consciousness Like, part of your consciousness is your physical being. Part of your consciousness is the synapse between your ears, that 6.5, 7 pounds of gray matter rumbling around inside your cranium. That is a form of consciousness, but that's a physical form of consciousness that will perish. It will go away. And the spirit will move on. That's what fears death, is that thing between your ears. But I think sometimes it finds a way to live on. And I think that sort of physical consciousness, that ego consciousness that you develop over your entire life, that's what lives on as the ghost. I'm not so sure that your actual spiritual form gets trapped here so much as this thing that just cannot let go of this existence somehow finds a way to move forward with it.
Like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Not even Obi-Wan, more like the Ring. You know, just this sort of like soul. Because with Obi-Wan, it was his. I mean, that was very much Obi-Wan's soul. That was very much a thing.
I got you.
So in this, you have this sort of what the going back to the Ring, what a lot of the Asian cultures call the hungry dead. These sort of soulless spiritual entities that they believe feed off of the living. And I think that a lot of the times that's what ghosts are. They're not the soul of the person or the spirit of the person that's left behind. It's this sort of just pure physical consciousness that has all of the memories, all of the desires, all of the unfinished business, as people are so fond of saying, that the person had in life. But this sort of physical energy manages to stay coalesced. The energy thing you were talking about before manages to stay coalesced to the point that consciousness stays behind on this plane when the spirit's like, I'm out, dude. I'll do this again next time.
I don't need this.
I don't need this anymore. Peace. I'll do this again next time when I show back up. But that physical consciousness actually remains behind.
Yeah, I can see that. Makes sense.
You know what's amazing about this conversation is the three of us are getting deep, right? And I stepped out for a second and started reading the comments while we're talking about this. It's hilarious.
People are not thrilled.
No, I'm going to apply to Hunter Baker's philosophy. I'm Christian, and the afterlife is supposed to be pretty chill. Okay. And then I believe in ghosts, but why poke that bear? Big, I'm assuming he's saying Big John. It's getting really deep, and I'm not buzzed enough to follow it completely. El Curtano, of course, of all people, asked what's in the vape pen.
Nicotine, same as always, bro.
Travis M. always has deep religious conversations when he's in a different state. What? Greg Campbell, I will live forever. Hell will not have me, and heaven will not have me, and hell is afraid I'll take over.
The thing that, of course, makes death scary is that you become attached, to your ideas and the other people that you experience, and everything. Become attached to all that, and the fear is that you worked really hard to build all that, and set it up, and you have all these memories and all this stuff, that's just going to be gone. But the thing that always makes me feel better is that, death is such a part of life, just like birth or anything else, just like other parts of life that you don't understand until you get old enough. It's just so natural that when you get there, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, now I get how that makes sense.
Yeah, for me, the thing with death is this, and it's kind of how I look at it from a spiritual viewpoint. I'm not a pure spiritual entity at this point. If I was a pure spiritual entity at this point, I wouldn't be sitting on this couch. So I am still, to some extent, influenced by my physical consciousness, and of course, as you can tell, this is all within my own framework of belief. But I view death and moving forward and losing all of this that I've already figured out, my physics training and all of these other things. I view that as a positive, to be honest with you, because I've already done this. I've already lived 40-something years as Will. Yeah. And if I live another 40 years as Will, what good would it do for me to go out, come back, and then live another life as Will? I've lived this life as Will. It's a good life. I enjoy it. I hope it sticks around for a while. I want to keep living this life as Will. But there's no point in continuing forward as Will. Once I'm done, I'll come back as Joe or Fred or Barbara or whoever I come back as.
I want to come back as El Curtano.
El Curtano! But, I'll come back as that person, and I would rather forget everything I knew and maybe not achieve some of the things that I wanted to achieve in this life, and maybe work really hard and fail at some things, and that way the next time I come back, the part of me that comes back will remember that and hopefully be a better individual for it. But yeah, I don't want to. After 80 or 90 years, I don't think I'm going to want to be Will anymore. I think I'll be ready to be somebody else.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true. And I guess when people reach a certain age, maybe you kind of develop almost that attitude, you know.
I think they do. I mean, there's a theory that young people, you know, in the reincarnation circles, there's a theory that young people reincarnate very quickly and old people take a long time to come back because they just want to chill.
And talking about the alternate universe things, this is going to sound like I'm trying to do a joke, but this is really going on out in the interwebs right now. And y'all may have already heard it. Let me ask you the question. Do y'all remember a movie when you were kids where Sinbad, the comedian, played a genie?
I've heard about that.
Yeah, it's the alternate. It's the.
I remember it.
See, I don't. I remember the.
either.
What was the other guy? Shaquille
Shaq
O'Neal.
played
Shazam.
Kazam.
Yeah.
This movie I remember was called Shazam.
My fiance remembers it.
Yeah, and
It was
I
Shazam.
remember
Sinbad in
he
it.
had
3
curly
A's.
shoes, and it was Sinbad, and it doesn't exist. Like, there's a bunch of people on the internet saying, no, I remember it. Vanessa, the co-host of Outside In With Me, she thinks she actually has the VHS, and she's going to try to go to her mom's and look for it. And it's crazy. Like, when you think about it, and you see these people arguing.
He's got to
saying,
the
no,
point.
it doesn't
Sinbad, I
exist.
think, it didn't.
Sinbad said, I was never in a movie called, or I never played a genie in a movie at all.
Yeah, he's actually.
I remember it.
He's actually tweeted about it.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah, it's
never-
another Mandela
never-
effect situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading about it, and I was like, no, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, it's another Mandela effect.
And it's kind of 50-50. You know, half
Yeah.
the people are like, no, I don't remember that. And the other half are like, no, I remember. I remember watching this movie.
Yeah.
And maybe it's one of those.
Well, it's like
little
I had
jump-
to, like I told you on, I think the other podcast.
yeah,
I had
the
a,
blue-red flip.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had a Mandela thing happen to me, which I've looked up about it, and I haven't been able to find anyone else. But I literally, you know, like the Republicans are red and the Democrats are blue. Like I remember this clear as day. I woke up one morning, I was like maybe 10 years old or something, went downstairs. It was like around election time, and I saw that on TV, and I was like, oh, look, they screwed up and got the colors wrong. And my parents were like, what are you talking about? I was like, they got the colors wrong. Like the elephant is supposed to be blue and the donkey is supposed to be red or whatever. And there was like, no, it's not. It's always been like this.
See, that's crazy.
You know.
But it's all over. It's we were talking about it before the last time, the Berenstain
Yeah.
bear thing, where prior to like 2004, 2005, it was pronounced one way, and now it's pronounced another.
And now that's one though.
Berenstain Bears is what I always.
It's
that's-
Berenstain.
What?
That's how it's spelled, a stain. But that's one I could kind of chalk up to, like, you know, you're a kid and you see that you might mispronounce it or whatever. But
I thought it was Stien.
But see, that's the thing. Like certain people remember it being one way, and now it's
You know what?
pronounced
Okay,
another.
here's a
and-
trippy theory I just came up with. We're getting more and more information through the internet, if not all of our information. More and more people are putting information on the internet from what their memories are.
Mm-hmm.
What if everybody is jumping into these alternate realities, but now the internet has reached critical mass where their memories from those different realities are being on here, and some of us remember them that way, and some don't. And so,
No,
like, the
that's-
internet is this document of
weird
all that stuff.
quantum weirdness, and
Yeah.
that would not surprise me in the least if that's the case.
Wow.
Because I don't doubt that if there are if
Why do I hear black helicopters over?
wait, so you're saying that like the internet is like transcending a dimension, like how gravity might?
And I don't know
Is
that
that
it's
what you mean?
transcending, but what's happening is this is always here's the deal. So I think if I'm allow me to paraphrase what you just said, if I'm wrong, then let me know. So this has been happening since the dawn of time, or since consciousness, or however you want to say it, where people have kind of fallen between dimensions and consciousness has moved from one place to another. But it's never been really noticed before. It's always been crazy old Aunt Sue. She remembers Uncle Basil. We ain't never had an Uncle Basil. Well, now crazy old Aunt Sue can say, no, I remember Uncle Basil, and then somebody else, from somewhere else go, oh, no, I remember Basil. He used to hang out with Jim, And so now people are starting to be able to put these things together. And so, and I think a lot of cases we are starting to see, especially with the Mandela effect stuff, the Berenstain Bears, the Sinbad, Kazam Shazam thing. We're starting to see people coming, maybe consciousness coming in from other realities going, no, dude, this movie exists.
Yeah.
Or no, Nelson Mandela died in prison. I remember reading it,
Yeah.
And how many times have you ran into a situation where you're like, oh, so-and-so's in a new movie? No, so-and-so died 3 years ago. No, they didn't. Yeah, no, I remember reading it. It was a big deal, you know. And so we're starting to get into a thing where, you know, and then before it was just like, okay, maybe that was somebody else that died. But now you go on the internet and go, does anybody else remember this dude dying 3 years ago? And all of a sudden 50 other people like, no, man, I totally remember that. There was like a state funeral.
Oh, yeah.
Like I remember staying home and watching the funeral. And so people are starting to be able to have access to one another and have access to this information. And so we're getting groups of people now that are possibly coming in from these other realities, that consciously coming in, obviously not physically transforming, but consciousness is moving between realities where they remember a thing being a certain way. And because of the internet, we're able to basically collate that data and see that people are remembering things completely differently.
Wow.
So we're
that's
all
crazy.
in the universe we're experiencing right now is the same, but there's billions of people from different universes documenting their experience on the internet.
So
Yeah,
there was a
basically.
script for Shazam, and in one reality, Sinbad decided to do that movie, and in our reality, Sinbad decided to pass on that movie.
And Shaquille O'Neal did it. But then
Well,
people
see,
came
the
in
way
from another
I
reality.
remember- the way I remember it is I remember the
They were
Shaq
both.
movie coming out
Yeah.
and thinking, wow, that was a direct ripoff of the Sinbad movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I remember.
Apparently, the Shaq movie was Kazam with K-A whatever, then 1-A, and then the Sinbad one had 2 A's in a row. Shazam.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But yeah, my fiance remembers that movie as well. She remembers seeing it. She knows she saw it as a child.
You like remembers like what happened in it and stuff.
Here's the weird thing. So I got into so first of all, word of warning. I'm going to go ahead and throw this out here. And I mentioned it on the last podcast that's actually up right now. The alternate reality and whatever. After that, I will throw out this word of warning. Do not go to sleep listening to true YouTube videos. So like true monster sightings, true this, true that, true scary stories, true whatever. Do not go to sleep listening to those. YouTube will take you down one of the darkest rabbit holes you've ever been in. At 4 o'clock in the morning, 2 weeks ago, I woke up to, I kid you not, true scary 911 calls.
Oh, God.
I woke up to a woman screaming in my bedroom. He's tearing her apart. Help us. He's killing her. He's killing her. He's tearing her apart. Right? And then it
That's
cuts
the oddest
off.
scream I've ever heard.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna try and replicate the blood curdling scream that this woman let out as I'm coming out of like unconsciousness. And then it rolled over to this poor old lady being murdered in her home while she's on the phone with the 911 operator. So do not go to sleep listening to anything true on YouTube. Having said that, I will go ahead and reiterate that my fiance and I listen to different creepy things. We got turned on to the Glitch of the Matrix stuff, which you can catch on YouTube on different channels. As soon as I got turned on to the Glitch in the Matrix stuff and like listening to it and being like, man, this is kind of weird, and coming from a physics background and understanding the concept of the observer problem and quantum universes and quantum consciousness jumping between universes, I start running into all of these people who talk about the Mandela effect or people that remember things differently than they were. And it's happening like one after the, and it's not even me bringing it up. Sometimes I'll be sitting outside. So I'm like, man, this happened the other day. It was really weird because this was going to happen. And then something intervened, or, I could have sworn this was this way and then it was this way. And so it's like
you see more of something. Whenever
but it's almost like as I got into it, it started showing up around me more.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that's all like the energy thing, the sort of the energy before the storm.
I've
if
had
that's all
that
building
before.
up to a glitch that's coming for me, where I'll just be like, holy crap, okay, so there's the glitch, But it's just interesting that as soon as I got into it, I started hearing more about it, and people were bringing it up to me that had never brought it up to me before.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
John, they say you don't seem like you agree with the Mandela effect. You're not saying much.
Well, I mean, John, you have a Mandela effect.
Yeah.
I had that. Yeah.
This may have been this may have been one of those 20-second comments that I said too late.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I did have that experience. Yeah,
There's one that they're saying.
but I'm not gonna rule out that I was just somehow wrong about that. But it's a very strong memory. So
Yeah. Well, there's one that they're talking about that I remember it the second way. How do y'all think Looney Tunes, the cartoons, was spelled? Looney's the same way. How do y'all think the tunes was spelled?
T with 2 O's and
That's what I remember. This
T-U-N-E-S.
guy's saying it's all Looney Tunes, now, TUNES, and people are looking it up and seeing that the old ones were TUNES.
I remember
Oh, yeah.
TUNES.
I remember TOONS, like short for cartoons.
Maybe Tiny Toons was TOO.
Yeah.
Tiny Toons was TOONS.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe that's where we're getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That may be an
I gotta use the
explanation.
facilities. I'll be right back.
All right.
How do we talk? I mean, what do we do?
Yeah, Tiny Toons was
We just keep talking?
Tiny Toons is pretty cool. Am I right, guys?
Is this a test? I feel like we're having a test here.
No, it's on it. Yeah. I mean, this stuff's weird enough we can keep talking about it.
Well, one question I liked on there, somebody said, now let's see how we can apply guns to this conversation. Like, really, I mean, are there guns in different realities that we think about, and then when you research them, no, they never existed.
Well, yeah. Well, there may be a situation in general where there may guns may just simply not exist. They were never invented in the first place.
Oh my God!
I know, right?
Crappy reality.
Yeah, it has. I'm sure it has its ups and its downs. I mean, as someone who loves guns, I'm still saying it has. I'm sure it has its benefits.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there are people that remember, certain things that about weapons that in this reality simply don't exist.
Yeah.
And you probably would run across them. Do you remember the old, Enfield Mark 12? Well, there was never an Enfield Mark 12.
Right.
You know what I mean, kind of thing. Well, no, there totally was. My father owned one. He got it from my grandfather in World War I. Well, no, that weapon doesn't exist. So I'm sure that happens in every corner of the culture. There's got to be those weird things that people remember that no one else does.
Yeah, I think there's something to the internet as it grows, and there's more and more knowledge poured on there. And I mean, I think I'm assuming this, but I'm assuming that all of our written knowledge that we learn in school and everything is already on there.
I'm sure
all of the
90,
core knowledge.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
But now that people are adding their personal experiences, whatever they are, it's getting so in depth that people are just. I mean, that's where a lot of this stuff is coming from. I mean, it's blowing their minds when they. Wait a minute, it was like that, but I lived like 2 blocks from that area, and no, I don't remember it like that.
Yeah, or the better one is when you're like, oh man, you remember it that way too? Like everybody tells me I'm nuts. I totally you remember it that way too?
Oh yeah.
And so I think we're going to start understanding and more and more that reality is incredibly pliable.
Yeah.
And it does. I think it's a weird. Honestly, okay. So to quote one of my favorite authors, Douglas Adams, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh yeah.
There's a theory that once someone figures out the universe, it will recombine itself into an even more confusing and crazy entity. And then there's another theory that says this has already happened.
Right.
And I think that's what I think it's so like all of it, the universe, the multiverse, every part of it is so unbelievably weird that I don't know that we'll ever figure it out. I don't think we're supposed to. You know what I mean? You can go through so many different ways of looking at it. You can look at this life as the hero's journey. Part of the hero's journey is that at some point you're stripped of all of your power and forced to face something anyway.
Yeah.
And is there a better concept? I mean, if we are spiritual beings, if we are so powerful that our very observation causes particles to come into existence, which is what the Schrödinger equation and theoretical physics tell us, are we not in a situation where we've been stripped maybe of most of our powers and forced to face something anyway?
Right.
I mean, is that not a good assimilation of what life is in the first place? And
Nope.
so, and that hero's journey thing, that's universal.
Yeah.
That's across the board, from all the way down to Samson.
Yeah, and there's something to a little bit of control over that universe too.
Yeah.
You think you're just floating along and things happen to me, they're crappy or they're good. But, in my experience, when I've had a positive attitude and I've worked hard towards something that I want and I have a goal, I can make it happen.
Yeah.
I've always been able to make it happen.
I mean, it kind of goes to that whole thing you were told is, can you do anything you apply your mind to? Well, what if you really can do anything you can put your mind to? You know what I mean? Like, it's just...
How high is this roof, John? Would I die if I tried to fly?
I think at that point,
Yes,
you'd
you
have to
would.
really put your mind to it.
Then laws of physics come into play, and it turns totally different.
It's a totally different thing. There are certain things that, in that case, you would have literally everyone's understanding of how the universe works normally working against you,
Yes.
and so you would have to overcome that.
You're fighting billions of years of
understanding.
knowledge,
Yeah. And now I'm going to go use the facility. So
Okay.
you guys say things that are interesting.
Okay.
Gosh, I feel left out.
Yeah.
It's probably because I only have half a bottle of water.
Yeah. I'll drink some water
But
too.
people are liking this. You know, a lot of people are saying they love it.
Patrick is trying to squish my head right now.
Is he really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. How does he squish your head?
You'll see it. What's the delay?
I
Because
squished
of
your head.
It is really funny
That was fun.
watching the delay.
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm seeing him squish your head.
Yeah.
Squishing your head.
It took it a little while, but like the delay, and then I'm thinking it's live, and I look down and I'm talking, and my hands are moving, and I look at my hands and they're not moving.
Yeah.
like this live stream is an alternate reality.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what's fun is look directly at the camera, and then you can see yourself looking right at the camera.
It's like me watching me. Okay, yeah, I stole that from Steve Martin on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, that was one of my favorite episodes as a kid. It was his first time coming back to host in the '80s or something.
Yeah.
And he's walking around singing and dancing, saying how much he loves. And he walks up to this monitor, and the camera's filming him, watching him on the screen. He's like, "Hey, it's me, watching me, watching me, watching me." And I remember being a kid and just dying laughing over that.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, this live stream has definitely been very, very loose and very, out there.
Free
we
thinking,
got
free
back up to
floating,
50.
Yeah.
free floating.
We got 50 listeners again.
Oh, nice.
Sweet.
We were
So
down to 40 about 20 seconds ago.
What conversation got you to 40? Was it the deep thoughts?
It was all the deep thoughts.
Yeah. Deep thoughts with Jack Handy.
El Cortano says it's kind of amazing. He may not be talking about this. He may be talking about someone's comment. But I just like El Cortano.
Yeah. I was about to say, like, maybe we should close out the show by talking about guns, but, at this point, anyone who has to have talk about guns, they're gone.
Yeah.
Well, I came on with my keyboard courage because I wanted to just blast what's happening in our community now, but after this deep conversation, it feels wrong.
Yeah.
It's just weird, man.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
I don't
it's weird,
want to
man.
get
Yeah.
negative, man.
It's bad vibes, dude.
I'm about the bad vibes, dude. I'm giving out the bad vibes.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I will say, though, in the gun culture, that's can be...
I like the way you air quoted the name of your show.
Yeah, I did. Well, Gun Culture Radio is the name of the show, not Gun Culture. But, gun people tend to be a very conservative bunch,
For the most part.
understandably so, but one thing that a lot of people who have gun channels on YouTube or whatever would probably be afraid to talk about the things that we've talked about in this kind of show, but I'm more, especially with this podcast, I'm more concerned of just putting ideas out there and not really being afraid of I hate the idea that certain people have ideas that have beliefs that are so incredibly strong that they just can't handle hearing people just theorize about other possibilities.
No, I'm with you.
You know what I mean?
I've got some friends like that,
Yeah.
that just cannot, for a split second step outside and think, well, what if that is that, or what if that is the other, or what if this, and I think, once you reach a point where you can no longer say what if, you're doing yourself a horrible, horrible disservice.
Yeah, and they might say, well, I don't see you listening to church radio, but that's one specific narrative. What's interesting to me is to hear about lots of different ideas and theories and things that bounce all over the place.
Since you kind of breached the subject, that I'll kind of go a little bit down that road, just because it's been frustrating to me lately. It seems like, before the election, there started to be a little more bonding within the firearms community. We've got to stand strong together. When Trump got elected, I swear, I go on gun forums and watch videos and. Yeah, trolling's fun. Yeah, I see people trolling. It's like, oh, this sucks. Oh, stupid. That's fake. That's one thing. But since he's been elected and we don't have that fear of our guns being taken away, people have just gotten flat out hateful. I mean, it went from trolling to you're a mean bleepity bleep because this is live.
Yeah.
Congratulations on censoring yourself,
Yes.
sir.
Yeah.
But
But it went from, oh, that's dumb, or I can't believe this jackwagon did this, or what have you, to, just destroying someone.
you're an idiot dying a fire.
Yeah.
Well, I
just
think-
horrible, horrible stuff.
think
And it's
it-
like, wow, this is.
What it reveals, I think, which is kind of sad, but the fear of guns being taken away is kind of the one big thing that just holds us all together.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, just the love of shooting is not enough because you
No.
know we all come from different backgrounds and ideas.
It's
and
not.
so-
I mean, I've got liberal friends that love their guns as much as I do, and you know, and that's one of the problems. That's one of the things that one of them brought up a while back. You know, people are talking about we're going to start a revolution, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and he was like, "Do you really think that the world that I want to live in is the same world you want to live in just because we both own an AR-15?"
Yeah,
And it's not.
exactly.
You know, his concept of the utopia and my concept of the utopia are two totally different concepts of a utopia. And
Yeah.
I know that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I think that's unfortunately, I think we're going to see more and more of that after the election because there was that whole, and again, I trigger a couple folks here. I don't think people went out and voted for Trump. I think people went out and voted against Hillary. And I think what you're seeing in the forums and what you're seeing on the gun sites is a perfect evidence of that. Because there was no unity behind Trump. You couldn't find unity behind Trump. What you could find was unity against Hillary.
yeah.
You know, I'm sorry, I can't stand Trump. I just the sight of the man makes me want to puke in my own freaking sweater. But I didn't like Hillary. I liked Hillary less.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that was the
And
whole thing.
that may be why they thought they were going to win, is because they didn't see the unity behind Trump. But in all reality, it was unity against Hillary.
It was unity against Hillary.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
They're
true.
like, nobody's going to vote for Trump. He's a
Because
horrible
everybody
candidate.
thought Hillary was going to win.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
up
Hillary's gonna
until
win.
about 9 o'clock election night. It was in the bag, man.
Yeah. Well,
you
like
know?
speaking of alternate realities, I mean, it feels like we're in some kind of weird alternate reality.
Yeah,
we're
like
not supposed to
it
be
does.
in.
Yeah, it does feel like that we're somehow on the Trump split. And where did that come from? You know what I mean?
Like we're in the minority on the split. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Like most people went with the Hillary split, and there's like 12 of us over here going, "Oh God, what happened?" But you know, because you watched it, and did you guys watch election night?
I did.
Yeah.
I was actually.
yeah.
a
I was up
comedy-
till like 3 a.m.
Yeah, because you
was-
were like, "Okay, so she's got the where's Pennsylvania going?"
I was in an open mic during the election.
Oh
Were
yeah,
you
that's
really?
right, you
That's
were.
awesome.
Yeah,
That was
but I mean, not
depressing.
that I'm
Yeah, Patrick was there, right? Weren't you?
Yeah, it was depressing.
I was one of those things like I'm not really sure if I'm happy that Hillary lost or upset that Trump won. You know,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I am in the whole situation.
I'll be honest. I voted for Trump as a giant middle finger.
I voted for Johnson for the same reason.
Yeah. It was just, it was one of those things where it's like, I don't want her.
Yeah, no, that would have been disastrous.
And I wanted Johnson until he picked his running mate.
Weld, yeah.
Yeah, and then I was like, no.
Yeah, that guy's a.
And
definitely
so
started.
I'm like, what's the biggest middle finger I can give the government right now?
Yeah, Trump.
If it pans out that he's telling the truth. My thing is, if you're the one that has the puppet strings and you see that the population is disenchanted with the government, who better to put in place to win an election
Yeah.
for you?
No, I've actually thought about that.
Yeah.
I've actually thought about that Trump's just another plant.
Yeah.
No.
That he's going to drain the swamp, you know, or whatever. He's not going to drain the swamp. He's not going to do half the stuff he said he was going to do.
No.
That's another thing that kills me about every 4 years.
That's why I'm
Wait, you've
very
got
strong.
102,000 subscribers now? Mm-hmm. I mean, whatever they say in the government is right.
Well, that's what I was going to say. What kills me is about election years is that everybody believes what these people say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody believes what their candidate says, and everybody believes what the opposing candidate
Because
says.
we want to. We almost need to be happy about the country we live in. You know?
Well, I
So-
still believe.
I mean, in general. I'm not saying me personally.
Yeah, I don't know. I just
I'm
think
a
it's
firm
ridiculous.
believer that Daddy Bush screwed this up. But the powers that be want 8 years one, 8 years another, 8 years one, 8 years another. Because as long as that balance of power is swinging back and forth, society's constantly doing this. We're all fighting. And while we're all fighting, they do whatever the hell they want up
Yeah.
at the top. The perfect example is when I had Talking Lead.
Yeah.
What's that?
That's it, Carlin.
Yeah.
What they
Oh,
don't
really?
want is a well-educated populace able to think for themselves.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like when we had Talking Lead, it was right at we recorded our first podcast the day Sandy Hook happened, and we were like, God, do we air it? I don't know. Crap, this is how they're gonna do this. But when all of the scare for the assault weapons ban was happening for that next year,
Yeah.
I kept telling people, quit fighting this. It's not going to happen. We would have cops and military people on the show, and we would ask, if the government tells you to go take all the guns, what are you going to do? Heck no.
Yeah.
We'll turn our guns on the government. And I kept saying, quit doing it. Watch what happens behind closed doors once all this is said and done. Sure enough, it got voted down.
Yep.
No assault weapons ban. But guess what happened? The NSA can look at our emails without a warrant.
Yeah.
It's like, watch. When you start hearing about abortion, about religion, about gun rights, forget what they're talking about, because those are all heartstring issues to get us all fighting. Watch what else is happening.
Yeah.
That's what I always
What I said it again, going back to the December podcast. I think guns and gun rights at this point are a placebo effect.
Yeah.
They're a safety blankie.
Yeah.
We will let the government read our emails, watch us while we're watching television, tap our phone calls, whatever, so long as I've still got my gun. So long as I could rise up, I don't need to rise up.
Well, how do you let it get a population to do what you want them to do? Make them feel safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we let the Patriot Act happen. Well, guess what? Because of the Patriot Act, if they come to your door tomorrow and they say, we want to come in and look at everything, you say, no, give me a warrant. All they have to do is go, you're a terrorist.
Yeah.
They don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
Fourth Amendment, boo, with that act.
Yeah.
But they made us feel like we were going to be safer because of it. So that's how they were able to get that through.
Well,
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was that said it was a French philosopher, and I cannot remember who said it. But the basic of it is no one is so enslaved as those who falsely feel they're free.
Say that again.
No one is so enslaved as those who falsely feel they're free.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's a good quote. I think too, when it comes to, like the people that we're talking about that are just like being sold and all this stuff they're believing, like at least us, we don't necessarily know what's going on, but at least we know that there's something going on that we need to be aware of and not be so plugged into everything that, trust what the government and the media is saying. I think it's almost more important at this point to try to unplug as many people as we can before trying to like divert them in any certain situation or a certain direction.
Yeah, but I think in order to unplug people, the problem with having to unplug people is you've got to get them out of their social circle first,
Which is really hard now.
Yeah, you've got to get them outside that echo chamber.
Yeah,
Which I think this podcast isn't necessarily a bad thing for that. You know what I mean? Like, because you do bring on a lot of different diverse viewpoints from uber conservative to whatever the heck I am, to Zeke, to Derek, to everybody that you have on here. And I think that's definitely a good thing, but you've got to get them outside that echo chamber. That's the first thing that's got to happen. And then you've got to get them reading things that aren't on the internet. You've got to get people digesting things offline, going through full books of new ideas, full concepts of well-formed arguments and things of that nature. Because until that happens, all you get is dismissed, and dismissal. The other day they was flipping. I have an Android phone, and so it likes to. Oh, you've shown interest in this, and you've shown interest in this. Pulled up a thing the other day. Was a headline from Time Warner. Oh, for the second time in 2 years, the global warming hiatus has been disproved. I was like, oh, has it really? Let me see something real quick. So like I went searching and looking and had to get through like 3 or 4 different pages of this has been disproved to find the global warming contour maps that they used to disprove it.
Right.
Well, once I got into the global warming contour maps, I was like, oh, you cherry picked the hell out of your data again. There we go. All right, done with that. But I had to actually go looking. I had to actually go searching. I couldn't dismiss, And I think a lot of people who hang out with a lot of folks that oh, global warming's a hoax, it's a myth, it's this, it's that, it's the other, and they get to echo and revert back on themselves, would have just been like, oh, no, I'm sure they did something stupid, and moved on with their lives. And that's because I don't think they've been exposed to people who probably fervently believe that man-made global warming is not only real, but is a sort of a catastrophe that's coming our way. And because people remain in their bubbles and remain in around people with certain viewpoints, they never branch out. And until they branch out, you can't unplug them, because it's not just unplugging them from social media. It's unplugging them from thought processes. It's unplugging them from cycles of repeating thoughts that just reinforce everything that they think they already know anyway.
Yeah. And that brings me to a point that a good friend of mine sort of turned me on to indirectly, is that at the end of the day, does it even matter?
Does it?
Does it even matter if everyone gets it or if the world is a happier place? As long as you're a happier place, does all that other stuff even matter?
Well, and then we're back to the universe and your reality.
Yeah,
and that's the part that does matter.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, all it does matter is where you are. And helping other people, I think, is in there somewhere for sure.
Yeah, because I feel like that's where a lot of like negativity and like doom, comes from. Is it's not because you're making up things that aren't real to be worried about. There's lots of real things to be worried about, but it's like all these are things that like you can't control. It's like you're trying to plug a leak or something. You don't have enough hands. There's some old analogy about that.
Well, there's a thing in it's interesting that you bring that up. There's a thing in stress management where they talk about your circle of concern versus your circle of influence.
Okay.
And your circle of concern is, everything from the latest legislation that's being passed to, who's going to be the next Supreme Court justice, to who's going to do this, to who's going to do that, to, this, that, or the other. And you're concerned about all these things. You have zero influence over them. Zero. What do you have influence over? I can show up to work on time. Cool. What do you have influence over? I can choose to watch a comedy tonight and laugh my butt off. Cool.
It's a good idea.
What do you have influence over? I can choose to hug and kiss my wife when I get home and tell her how much I love her and make my home life comfortable and smooth. What do you have influence over? I can figure out what I want to eat tonight, And there are things and those are what you need to focus on. And so often we get so caught up in our circle of concern and especially in gun culture.
Yeah.
And we get so caught up, especially when you're thinking about political things, no matter what side of the spectrum you're on, you get so caught up in your circle of concern that you try to affect things and influence things that are way outside your circle of influence.
Yeah.
And then I was recently reading a book. It's an old book from the 70s called Be Here Now. And I realized that my circle of influence only extends to now.
Yeah.
Now.
Nope.
Not 5 minutes from now, not 5 minutes ago.
Nope.
I can't change anything I said 5 minutes ago.
Anymore.
It doesn't exist, and
Nope.
the future doesn't exist yet. I can make plans for the future, but I'm doing that now.
Right.
So my circle of influence is now, and it's the things that I can actually get around. And if I start worrying about the past, worrying about the future, they're part of my concern, but I can't influence them. I can't do anything to them because I'm not there yet.
Right. And they start to.
I read a
feel
similar
unhappy.
book called The Power of Now, and you go down that road and you start handling things better.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you're like us, you really start thinking about it, and then you're like, you can't control the past. Well, I can't control what I just said. Oh, I can't control that either. Well, I can't control what I'm about to say. Oh, I only have exactly this moment.
Yeah. No, you can drive yourself nuts with it,
Oh,
but,
yeah.
but once you get it into an actual frame where you can work with it, it is a very empowering situation.
It is. It really
Because
is.
you really understand the concept of if not now, when.
'Cause it's easy to think of now as being a small slice, but now is a lot.
Now is everything you've experienced and
Yeah.
everything you will experience, but you have to you've either passed that point or you got to get to that point, but there is still only now.
Yeah.
I want to address a comment that somebody made about their comments. The NSA has read all of this and watched it, and we're all screwed.
Okay.
I just had a physical. I'm very healthy. John seems healthy. You seem fairly healthy.
I'm all right.
The vape's okay. If we all die from a weird circumstance in the next, few months,
If I die from pancreatic cancer,
Yeah. Here's the thing. My theory about that though is the people at the top they got it so figured out and put together as far as what their thing is. They're not worried about people like us talking about it.
No, they're not going to be worried about people like us talking about it. Even here's the freaking deal, man.
Mm-hmm.
Even if every single word that came out of our mouth tonight by some bizarre arrangement of probabilities was the gospel truth about the fabric of reality, there are 45 people watching this podcast right now. It's not like we're beaming out to the whole world. You know what I mean? It's not like we're sitting here in Guy Fawkes mask dropping the knowledge, we are legion, expect us. There's 45 of us
speaking
here.
of which, do you really think Anonymous has a Facebook page?
That's the
What
thing about,
people
but
don't-
that's the thing about Anonymous. They do. They also have 17 Twitter accounts because I can claim to be anonymous.
Everyone is anonymous.
Everybody is anonymous,
And that's the whole point of it. It's like a group of hackers that started on 4chan, which is like a Reddit.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
4chan is brutal, man.
Oh yeah.
Oh, my God.
And then it just there's no leader. There's no leadership. The group changes all the time. Somebody can be a part of Anonymous and then they're not. And they organize different things. And the one Anonymous Facebook page though, where they're always showing these videos of this is about to happen. And that one I'm like, Okay, I don't think this is really an.
You know what the great thing is about that Facebook page, though? It is so much fodder for short stories.
Oh,
and,
it is.
It's so great, dude. It's like a who's who of conspiracy. God, it's amazing. You know, next week I expect to like open it up and find out that JFK didn't really die. He's actually one of the Rockefellers, you know.
Yeah.
Kim.com is actually his great grandson.
Oh, I thought you were about to say Kim Kardashian. Was
No.
him.
Kim.com is one of his great grandsons, and they're gonna unleash the files. And it's dude, there's nothing that could come off of that Facebook, that anonymous Facebook page at this point that I would be like,
Yeah.
well, that seems a little far out there. You know, at this point, there's nothing that they could say that would shock me.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah, and it's like the thing that I found about conspiracy theories is it's fun to look at them and stuff, but if it's like, what do you do with the information? You know, like I think that's what's important. Some people, I think they feel like when you find out, like, oh man, the government is screwing us over. They've been doing all this stuff to us for years, you know, and you realize that, you feel like you have to be the one to try to do something about it, you know.
Yeah.
But that's unrealistic, you know. I don't want to live in a state of bliss where I just am like oblivious to possible realities, but I also don't want to live in a state of fear based on something that might be true. I want to find something in the middle where I'm interested in things that might be true, but
Here's the
realize
question.
it's not that important.
What if the last 17 presidents, every member of Congress, and all the Supreme Court justices are lizard people from another planet? What the hell are you going to do about it?
Nothing.
You know what I mean? Like, if they're that ensconced, I mean, it's great that you know that, but I mean, it's not going to do anybody any good for you to know that. And then I think that's kind of what you were saying there.
Yeah.
Like, what if every single conspiracy theory turned out to be true? There would still be nothing you could do about it.
Well,
Yeah.
as big. Oh God, this is worse than El Cortano. I think as big as span H&H. I don't know. He said his one comment is, "You are inputting excellent knowledge into the Borg collective. The fabric of reality will assimilate. Resistance is futile." And I'm like, that's the only comment I've seen him post the whole time. I'm like, whoa.
And we have been detected. All right. Dive.
Wow, that's the way to end it right there.
Yeah.
We've been assimilated to the Borg collective.
Yeah.
We're done.
It's been fun, man.
I've
enjoy it.
enjoyed this.
I love these kind of talks. It's so
Yeah.
much fun.
Yeah.
There's like a certain rush that you get from them too, almost.
Yeah.
No, it is. I mean, and it's because you're actually thinking outside, you know, what you normally deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And it
With
does-
people that are able to, like you said, think differently.
Yeah.
No matter who they're around.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So no, I always love coming on these things. And the live stream was awesome tonight. I really enjoyed that.
Cool, man. We got to do more of them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm
Oh,
in.
yeah. All right. Well,
That's the thing I feel guilty about. I now live 2 minutes from you, and is this the first one I've been on at this house?
no, you've been on a couple.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't have a good memory.
You
College was a little wild.
Yeah. That was in an alternate reality.
It
where-
was.
where
It's
Yeah.
an alternate reality. I just
You've
brought those
you've
brain
blipped
cells
into
with
a
it.
reality where you have been on some, but the reality
Wait
you're
a
from,
minute.
you've never
what
been
if
on
that's
any.
true? I haven't been on. I don't think I've been on any here.
I got video of it. I can show you.
Oh crap!
But still, video now doesn't prove that you're not from a
That's
reality
right.
where it doesn't
That's
exist.
your video. That's
Yeah.
that guy's dead.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
That's video from this reality. In his reality, those videos don't exist.
Oh God, stop the show now.
All right. Will, Zeke, I appreciate it.
Thank you for
problem.
having us on, man.
Hey.
Yeah, we'll do
Appreciate
again. See you. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for watching Gun Culture Radio.
He loves doing
Been
that.
held
man.
with Zeke, Will, Patrick, and John. I think the big takeaway is, you know, be good to one another and don't sweat the small things. All right, guys?